Ever since the studio revolutionized animation in the 1990s, Pixar has steadily delivered some of the best animated films of all time. From Toy Story to Up, Monsters Inc. to Coco, and Finding Nemo to Inside Out, the studio is responsible for some of the most emotional stories we won't ever forget. Honestly, so emotional that we're left sobbing and in desperate need of a hug. But that's exactly what makes Pixar so great. The studio's storytelling is second to none, and it always hits us with a brutal sucker punch right in the feels. And it doesn't matter your age, whether you're a kid or a grown-up crying some manly tears, these stories explore themes that are relatable to everyone. Death, legacy, being alone, hopes and dreams, love, and growing up, Pixar doesn't hold back. Today, brace yourselves because we're taking a look at the 15 saddest Pixar scenes that destroyed us emotionally. But before we begin, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notifications whenever we upload. Number 15. Finding Dory. Dory finds her parents. To kick off this list, we gotta start with Finding Dory. At the end of the film, after a long journey, Dory stumbles upon a whole path of seashells which lead to a home, where she finally finds her parents. In this emotional reunion, they tell her that they spent years laying down a trail for her to follow in the hopes that she would eventually find them. It's a happy scene, but an emotional one nonetheless. Number 14. Brave. Stuck with the curse. When Merida accidentally turns her mother into a bear, the two learn to appreciate each other during a vulnerable time, despite all of their fighting in the past. Fortunately, Queen Eleanor is turned back to normal at the end, but there is a moment in which Merida thinks the curse won't reverse, and it's actually quite devastating.
You've always been there for me. You've never given up on me. I just want you back.
Number 13. Sully Scares Boo. Monsters Inc. was one of the earlier beloved Pixar movies, and although this won't be the only time the film appears on our list, this scene definitely belongs here. When Sully is told to demonstrate a roar during a scare simulation, Boo wanders over in front of a terrifying roar from her beloved blue kitty. This of course scares her and creates a very sad moment. Number 12. Inside Out, Joy loses hope. What if toys had feelings? What if monsters had feelings? What if robots had feelings? What if feelings had feelings? There's definitely a trend when it comes to Pixar movies. And Inside Out took it to a more meta level. When joy, the emotion that controls happiness, begins to give up hope, it definitely tugs on our heartstrings.
I just wanted Riley to be happy.
It may have got her to realize that sadness is a required component to a healthy person, but it's also really sad to watch.
I came to help because of sadness.
Number 11. Finding Nemo, Marlin abandons Dory. Yes, Dory makes it on the list again, only this time in Finding Nemo, the film she first appeared in. At an especially low point for Marlin, when he's given up and ready to go home, Dory begs him to stay. The forgetful fish is able to remember better with him around, and she desperately begs Marlin not to leave.
And I look at you and I'm home.
Completely defeated, he refuses, leaving Dory alone to fend for herself. Number 10. Toy Story 2, Jessie's Flashback. There's gonna be a lot of Toy Story on this list, but let's start with the flashback that happens in the second movie. Throughout the story, we see that Jessie gets noticeably upset whenever Woody says that he's going to return to Andy, but the film reveals why she's so cynical when her past is revealed, and it's brutal.
How did you know that?
Because Emily was just the same. She was my whole world.
The flashback showcases a relationship between Jessie and her owner Emily that mimics the one between Woody and Andy. The montage shows the bond in great detail before ending with Emily leaving Jessie in a box by a charity truck. The montage ends with Jessie saying,
"You never forget kids like Emily or Andy, but they forget you."
Number 9. Toy Story. Buzz realizes he's a toy. Talk about an existential crisis. After enduring all the teasing from Woody, claiming that he not only isn't a space ranger, but also in fact a toy,
You are a toy!
Buzz sees a television ad confirming what he's been denying the whole time.
You are a child's plaything!
Unable to accept the truth, he climbs the railing atop the stairs and sets his target on an open window, hoping to prove once and for all that he is in fact a real space ranger. Unfortunately, his dreams are crushed as he falls to the floor, doomed to accept his reality as merely a child's plaything. This is an especially relatable feeling for anyone who's had to compromise their beliefs and accept an uncomfortable truth.
Clearly I will go sailing no more.
Number 8. Finding Nemo. Nemo's family is killed. Certainly one of the darker scenes on the list, Finding Nemo starts with an actual massacre, warning us what we're in for right out the gate.
I like Nemo.
Nemo? Well, we'll name one Nemo, but I'd like most of them to be Marlin Jr.
In a desperate attempt to protect her offspring from a barracuda, Nemo's mother Coral is killed alongside his brothers and sisters. Nemo's father awakes only to find his wife and children eaten, but one egg is left. In honor of his late wife's suggestion, Marlin decides to name his son Nemo. He then vows to forever protect him, which works as a perfect dramatic need setup given the plot of the film.
I promise I will never let anything happen to you, Nemo.
With such a brutal opening, Finding Nemo is essentially the Saving Private Ryan of Pixar movies. Number 7. Coco. Mama Coco remembers her father's song. Pixar's Coco deals with some incredibly mature themes even by Pixar standards. The movie honestly explores the themes of life, death, family, and legacy. The music in the film is some of the most powerful in all of the studio's history. There's a scene after Miguel learns how Hector died that definitely turns on the waterworks, but when Coco starts to forget her father and the memory of him begins to fade away, Miguel plays a version of the song Remember Me. He's able to get his great-grandmother to remember her dead father and save his memory from vanishing, leaving us with the message that remembering someone will keep their spirit alive.
Remember me.
Number 6. WALL-E. Eve reactivates WALL-E. Pixar's WALL-E is an incredible achievement in storytelling for a number of reasons, one of them being how effectively the writers were able to make the audience feel emotional about two robots using very little dialogue. But regardless of that, few love stories have melted audiences' hearts quite like the one about WALL-E and Eve. At the end of the film, when WALL-E is rebooted by Eve, his memories are lost. It's a scene that choked everyone up as Eve desperately tries to make WALL-E remember, only to watch him revert back to the simple tasks he was programmed to complete.
WALL-E! WALL-E!
But it all comes back the moment they touch hands. Pixar may tear us apart on the regular, but they're also responsible for some remarkably happy endings.
Eve? WALL-E.
Number 5. Toy Story 3. Andy gives away his toys. Just when we thought the franchise couldn't get any more sentimental and emotionally devastating, along came Toy Story 3. The movie is packed with enough feelings to send anyone on an emotional roller coaster ride, but the scene where Andy sits on the grass to donate his toys to a shy little girl before going off to college is arguably one of the saddest things you could ever watch in an animated film. The way the two interact, the hesitation Andy has in giving away Woody is so relatable since we all had to leave our childhood behind at some point and say goodbye to whatever or whomever made it great.
Thanks, guys.
Scenes like these are perfect examples why Pixar is the greatest of all time, as they compact the elements of emotional storytelling with themes of growing up, essentially creating moments that are as profound to adults as they are to children.
So long, partner.
Number 4. Monsters Inc. Sully says goodbye to Boo. As far as peculiar friendship goes, nothing beats the adorable attachment between Boo and her closet monster Sully. When Sully finally returns Boo to her bedroom, it becomes clear that they could never see each other again.
Kitty.
Kitty has to go.
The loving affection in Sully's eyes when he has to acknowledge the separation might be enough to crush you, but it actually gets worse. Poor little Boo hops out of bed to follow him, only to find an empty closet.
Boo!
Oh, you're killing us, Pixar. Number 3, Inside Out, Bing Bong's Goodbye. Bing Bong's entire storyline makes us misty-eyed. As if seeing him fade away from Riley's memories wasn't sad enough, we had to witness his perky enthusiasm over making it back to her only to be cruelly annihilated. Bing Bong sacrifices his desire to play with Riley once more so that Joy could make it safe to headquarters.
Take her to the moon for me, okay?
A scene so heartbreaking that it even makes Joy shed a tear. But what else would you expect from an Oscar-winning film about humanized emotions? Inside Out is a masterpiece because of how it makes us understand the importance of each emotion, as well as growing up and having to leave things from our childhood behind, regardless of how sad it can be. Number 2, Toy Story 3, The Furnace. No, we're not done with Toy Story 3, and you knew this scene was coming. Yes, there have been some darker picks on this list already, but Mother of God is this one dark. After being betrayed by Lotso Huggin' Bear, the toys find themselves trapped in a furnace on a conveyor belt pushing them to a fiery death. Alright, first off, Lotso's gleeful betrayal is downright sadistic right here, as we see that he actually takes legitimate pleasure in watching the toys be sent to their death. I mean, this shot right here demonstrates that Lotso's probably the most evil thing Pixar has ever created. Anyway, the emotionally devastating part comes when the toys hold hands and accept their fate. Showing us a unity that has defined them all throughout the trilogy. Fortunately, the toys escape thanks to... But nonetheless, this is an incredibly dark and heart-wrenching moment that cut us all really deep and frankly gave us anxiety. And finally, number 1, Cars 2. I'm just kidding. Number 1, Up, The Married Life. Up raised the bar of animated features with its imaginative details and outstanding emotional range, but the most heart-wrenching moment is no doubt the 10-minute segment at the beginning, a montage of the married life of Carl and Ellie. Their full life is displayed in front of us, from childhood to marriage, showcasing goals and ambitions as well as their own heartaches, right up until the day Ellie dies. A life naturally filled with ups and downs, accomplishments and regrets, and at the very core of it all stands the undying love between the two. But the fact that they never got to travel together is what broke our hearts the most. And like Coral's death in Finding Nemo, this tragedy works as a fantastic backstory that fuels Carl's dramatic need throughout Up. Not to mention when Carl finds the sweet note that Ellie left for him at the end of her adventure book. It's a beautiful story, and definitely one that destroyed us emotionally. But that's just our opinion. With so many Pixar movies, it was actually really difficult to put together an accurate countdown. What scenes did you find to be the most heartbreaking? Let us know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please remember to like this video and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notifications whenever we upload a new video. But most importantly, stay wicked.